Late May, a summer camp orientation in Boston. A 13-year-old black boy from coal country West Virginia is holding a tray, looking for a seat. Preston Whitfield, the senator's son, waves him over.
Country boy, sit with us. We've got something for you.
Tucker grins.
You've never seen the ocean, right? Our families have a place. Wexford Island. Full resort. Come for the weekend. Our treat. Show you your first ocean.
Caroline tilts her head, sweet.
Just take the ferry from Highness. Economy is fine.
The boy thanks them 3 times.
Thank you.
3 weeks later, the four are on the Yacht Club terrace. Phones up, waiting to film him stepping off the economy ferry in a Walmart blazer. The ferry pulls in. He is not on it. Then the harbor goes quiet. A 200-foot mega yacht slides through the breakwater. On the bow stands the country boy. Drop noted in the comments. Yeah, that image stuck in my chest. I'm Vance Narrator. I keep the receipts on stories the polite people would rather forget. And this one, I almost couldn't put down. Pour something. Sit with me. I'm going to tell you about a boy named Ian. A kettle that went cold at midnight. And a sea chest nobody had opened in 22 years. 3 weeks earlier, the Tate Kitchen, Mercer County, West Virginia. June light through a screen door that is not closed right since 1996. The kettle is climbing toward a whistle and stopping just short, the way it always does. Eleanor Tate stands at the counter grading book reports in red pencil. She is 38 years old. Her hands are tired in a way that does not show. Hannah, 8 years old, sits at the kitchen table reading aloud from a library book about humpback whales. She reads slowly and on purpose. Ian Tate is across from her, in a clean white t-shirt opening the mail. 3 unopened bills sit in the corner of the counter. The return address on each is the same: Appalachian Heritage Partners, LLC, Suite 4C, State Street, Boston. The letters request right-of-way access across the Tate family's grazing parcel. Eleanor has read each letter 3 times. She has not answered any of them. The Tates are one of 3 black landowning families on this stretch of road. They have been on this land since before the coal companies came and after the coal companies left. Jonas Tate built a shipping company out of a single tugboat and never sold his mother's farm. Jonas has been dead 3 weeks. The funeral was small. The dairy barn lights still come on at 6 in the morning, the way Jonas had them set. The will is in a drawer in the upstairs hall. The yacht, the company, the trust, none of it has been spoken aloud in this kitchen yet. In the upstairs hall there is a sea chest, brass-plated, engraved J. Tate, Master. It is locked. Hannah has asked twice what is inside. Ian has told her he does not know. He doesn't. Then the creamstock envelope arrives. Embossed seal. Whitfield Family Foundation. Eleanor opens it at the counter, drying her hands on a dish towel first. Wexford Young Leaders Summit. Congratulations on your selection. Tucked inside is the glossy postcard. Cursive ink. Come see your first ocean, country boy. Wexford Island, late June. 2 round-trip tickets for the island crossing, economy class. Signed, the Senior Summit Committee, with love. Eleanor reads it twice. She is proud. She is also tired enough to be a little slow, and she does not connect the foundation's name to the letters in the corner of her counter. Not yet. Ian recognizes one signature on the committee list. Whitfield. He has seen it on a return address envelope in his mother's recycling bin 3 days ago. He does not say so. He is 13, and he loves his mother, and he wants the ocean. Eleanor folds the letter back into the envelope. She squeezes Ian's shoulder. 2 weeks, sweetheart. You bring a thank you card with you.
Ian folds the postcard once. He does not fold it twice. He sets it on the table next to Hannah's book about whales and stares at it for a long minute. In the corner of the kitchen, the kettle finally whistles. Eleanor lifts it off the burner. The room is the kind of quiet that comes before a long drive. That night, Eleanor signs the parental consent form at the kitchen table at 20 past midnight. Her handwriting is steady. The kettle has long gone cold. She slides the form into a stamped envelope, addresses it by hand, and walks it to the mailbox at the end of the gravel drive in her slippers. The crickets do not stop. The dogs at the next farm do not bark. Upstairs, Ian lies awake. He thinks about the locked sea chest in the hallway. He thinks about the cursive on the postcard. He thinks, very quietly, about a man named Whitfield he has never met. He closes his eyes. He does not sleep. Greyhound from Bluefield to Boston, 12 hours. Ian rides in a borrowed blazer 2 sizes too big in the shoulders. Eleanor stood at the station with a tuna sandwich wrapped in wax paper and a phone number written on a card. You call me from any payphone, any hour. He nodded twice. He did not say yes ma'am because his throat was full. Hyannis Ferry Terminal at midday. The island crossing idles low and deep, diesel and brine and the rumble of a hold older than Ian's mother. Tourists in fleece, a line of black SUVs queuing for the vehicle deck. Ian boards on the upper passenger deck. The bullies meet him at the rail with phones already filming. Caroline Ashford delivers a rehearsed line. This is his first time seeing saltwater, the open Atlantic. Her smile does not reach her eyes. She has been coached. Tucker Sterling narrates for the camera. Mason Caldwell laughs on cue. Brennan Holloway stands behind them with his hands in his pockets like a kid who knows he's filming a crime and is mostly hoping it won't come back to him. Preston Whitfield does not film. Preston watches. The crossing is 14 nautical miles, 75 minutes. The wind is wrong for the staged moment. The ceremony feels longer than the 4 of them planned. Ian holds the rail. He says thank you twice. Once to Caroline for a bottled water she did not actually offer. Once to Tucker when Tucker shoves a microphone at his mouth. He looks at the ocean. He does see it for the first time. He just refuses to do it on their schedule. Wexford Island Harbor at 14:10. Ian disembarks behind a row of luxury sedans. He notices the ferry's CCTV cameras at the bow and the stern. He notes their angles. He has read every detective novel in the Mercer County Public Library, and he is, at this moment, calculating sightlines. 14:32. Ian is walking past the harbor turnaround when a black SUV rolls off the vehicle deck. Small white logo on the door, a stylized lighthouse over 3 waves. He has seen this logo before, on letters above his mother's kitchen sink. He photographs the plate, the logo, the timestamp on the disposable phone Eleanor bought him for the trip. He does not text anyone yet. He is doing the math the way his grandfather taught him. The Summit shuttle drops the campers at the Harborfront Clubhouse for the welcome dinner. The bullies are seated at a long inside table set with linen under a wooden sign reading, Founders Cohort. Ian's name card is not at that table. A Summit coordinator finds him gently. Honey, your name's been moved. Outside patio. Overflow seating. He thanks her. He follows the patio path past the kitchen entrance, past the busser cart, to a smaller table set with paper napkins and 1 folding chair. He eats his pasta and does not look up. Caroline appears at his elbow halfway through dessert. She has 3 rehearsed questions delivered like a kid practicing a recital. Did your grandfather leave the company to your mom or to you? Is the yacht in the will? Has anyone made an offer for the West Virginia land? Ian thanks her for asking. He does not answer. He reaches into his blazer pocket and feels for the postcard. He has carried it across 2 states. That night, Ian calls his mother from a payphone outside the clubhouse. He says the food is good. He says the ocean is bigger than he expected. He does not mention the patio. When he hangs up, he sees Preston standing across the parking lot watching him. Preston does not wave. Preston does not move. Ian walks back to the inn and locks the door behind him. He does not sleep that night either. Morning. Ian walks the public pier alone. The summit's first-day team-building hour has been quietly canceled for him. No explanation, just an email from the coordinator saying the schedule is being adjusted. He watches the lobster boats unload. He learns the harbor master's name, Hank Cobbleton. Hank teaches him how to read the tide chart taped to the harbor office window. Hank is friendly. Hank is also watching him. A seaplane comes in low from the southwest at 14:32, same minute as yesterday's SUV. Ian feels the coincidence land in his stomach. He sits on a public bench and pretends to be looking at his phone. Senator Bradford Whitfield steps off the float. Two men in lawyer-cut suits walk down the dock with him. They board a private vessel that is not registered in the senator's name. Ian photographs the seaplane's tail number from the bench. No one looks at him. He is small, uniformed, and on this island he is a category, summit camper, not a person. That evening, the Founders Cohort dinner is held at the Wexford Yacht Club. Parents have been flown in from 3 time zones. Ian is told, gently, by the same coordinator from yesterday, "Honey, this one's Founders only. Overflow campers eat at the inn tonight." The summit brochure does not mention a Founders Cohort. The website does not either. The list is invented today. It will be uninvented tomorrow. Ian walks back down the seawall alone in his borrowed blazer in the long blue light of an island summer evening. The yacht club terrace is full of fathers laughing too hard at their own jokes. On a small island, the whole seawall is the whole town. A woman in a gray cardigan and half-moon glasses sits on a bench reading The Atlantic. She lowers it as Ian passes. Margaret Whitlock has summered on Wexford Island for 22 years. She has watched this exact choreography before. Different boy, different blazer, same script. "Young man, are you the Tate boy from West Virginia?" He stiffens. She softens. "I knew your grandfather. He was kinder than people gave him credit for." She introduces herself by her maiden name, then her married name, then admits she went by neither at the Boston Globe. She tells him she chased stories like this one for 30 years. She writes a phone number on a paper napkin and slides it across the bench. "Tell your mother to call me tonight, not tomorrow. Tonight." Ian calls Eleanor at 9 p.m. Eleanor calls Margaret at 9:14. By 10 p.m., Eleanor has booked the 6 a.m. ferry. "You are not on that island alone, Ian." Eleanor calls Edmund Greer in Charleston at 10:30. Greer is awake. Greer is always awake. Greer has been the family lawyer since before Ian was born. He says one sentence: "Get me the timestamp on every photograph that boy took and don't email it. Drive it to me when you can." Eleanor agrees. She hangs up. She packs a manila folder. She does not pack pajamas. She packs court-grade copies of 3 deeds, a notarized trust document Jonas signed 26 days before he died, and 2 unopened letters from Appalachian Heritage Partners, LLC. At 3 a.m., she stands at the kitchen counter with her hand on the kettle and does not turn the burner on. Hannah is asleep upstairs, breathing evenly. Eleanor closes her eyes. She has been seated at the wrong table before. Her son has not. By 6 a.m., she is on the island crossing, a manila folder under her arm, the postcard tucked in the breast pocket of her jacket. She has not slept. She does not need to. Her hand on the rail is steady. The ferry pulls out of Hyannis. The mainland gets smaller. Eleanor stares at the water and thinks about a 13-year-old in a borrowed blazer. She thinks about a man who once told her the work is the inheritance. She tightens her grip on the rail. Somewhere on the island, a phone is already ringing in a Boston law firm suite. Someone has noticed Eleanor's ticket purchase. The temperature on Wexford Island is about to change, and nobody at the Founders Cohort breakfast has felt the draft yet. A separate flight has been scheduled, a different plane, a different harbor, a different name entirely on the registry. Captain Diana Whitlow is already at sea. Mid-afternoon, Eleanor and Ian on a public bench by the harbor, Margaret beside them. The summit has postponed its afternoon session, Stewardship of Family Legacy, because Ian's mother is on the island. The cancellation notice is posted on the inn bulletin board in the same cursive as the postcard. The Founders Cohort is on the Yacht Club terrace, phones already up. They have been waiting since the morning ferry came in without him. The four of them are angled toward the dock the way fishermen angle toward a strike. The harbor's mood changes before anyone explains why. The 200-foot motor yacht Wayfarer slides through the breakwater. White hull, navy trim, no flag, no pennant. Captain at the helm. On a small island, every harbor-facing window sees the same thing at the same time. The Yacht Club terrace falls silent first, then the boardwalk, then the harbor master's office, then the Summit Seaside Pavilion, where the Founders Cohort is mid-rehearsal for tonight's video. The Bullies' phones come up, then their voices stop. Captain Diana Whitlow steps onto the public dock. 55 years old, wind-cut face, navy coat with no insignia. She walks past the Yacht Club host without breaking stride. She has waited 22 years to walk past that host. She finds Ian on the bench. She stops 2 paces short. She salutes once, the old merchant marine way, palm down, 2 fingers off the brow. "Mr. Tate, sir, your vessel is ready when you are." A pause. "Your grandfather signed the trust 3 weeks before he passed. The Wayfarer is yours. I am your trustee until you turn 18 and your captain for as long as you will have me." Eleanor's hand finds Ian's shoulder. She nods to Captain Whitlow. "Thank you, Diana." They have spoken before. Ian did not know that. He stands. He thanks the captain by name. He turns toward the Yacht Club terrace and nods once, the way a polite boy nods to a neighbor he has not met. He does not smile. He does not look at Preston. He does not look at Caroline. He boards. Eleanor boards behind him. Margaret stays on the seawall, watching, both hands tucked into the pockets of her gray cardigan. The lines slip. The Wayfarer moves out into the channel without ceremony. On an island there is nowhere to look that is not the harbor. They watch him leave. They watch him not leave. There is a difference. In the Wayfarer's main salon, Captain Whitlow tells Ian a folder is on the chart table in his stateroom, Jonas's handwriting on the cover. "He told me you would come for it. He didn't tell me when. He told me you'd know." Ian sets the postcard on the table beside the folder. He does not open the folder yet. The Wayfarer drops anchor in the outer roadstead a mile off the harbor mouth. From the bow, Wexford Island is a thin blue line. Eleanor opens her own manila folder on the chart table beside Jonas's. The 2 folders touch. A boy with a 32-page dossier in his cabin does not need to smile. He has not opened it yet, but he can feel it, the way you feel a storm coming up the valley. "Whew. I've replayed that dock scene maybe a dozen times in my head, and I still get goosebumps. 1,200 adults on a terrace, every one of them rehearsing how to make a country boy feel small. And the kid just nods like a neighbor. Tells you what dignity does. When it shows up, wearing the right boat. Tells you something about the grandpa, too. A man who plans your status flip from beyond the grave is a man who saw the whole road 3 years out. That's the part that wrecks me. Next morning, the Wexford Island Town Clerk's Office, 8 a.m. Wood paneling, the dry rasp of old deed books, a green-shaded lamp at the counter. Teresa Lindgren, the town clerk, is pouring coffee from a thermos into a chipped mug. She has been at this counter since 1996. Eleanor, Margaret, and Edmund Greer, on speakerphone from Charleston, open with one question. Teresa, can we pull every coastal parcel transferred in the last 26 months? Teresa does not flinch. Take a seat. It's going to be a stack. Ian sits at a side table with a blue notebook and a pencil. Eleanor has said yes. He has asked to listen, and the request was a sentence from a 13-year-old who has earned the right to be in the room. Teresa pulls 14 parcels, all transferred to a single buyer in 26 months. The buyer is Coastal Stewardship, LLC. Same notary on every closing. Same closing attorney on every page. 2 of the 14 parcels are working harbors that have belonged to fifth-generation lobster families since the 1860s. Eleanor asks the question carefully. Teresa, what address does this LLC file from? Teresa flips the cover sheet, reads it out loud. Boston, Suite 4C, on State Street. Margaret sets her coffee cup down on the counter. She knows that suite. She has filed 3 FOIAs against that suite in the last decade and lost every one of them. That's the same address, she says, as the Whitfield Family Foundation. Greer, on speakerphone, asks Margaret to hold. He pulls the nonprofit registration on the Wexford Young Leaders Summit itself, runs the corporate filing through the Massachusetts Secretary of the Commonwealth Corporations Division, and confirms it before they finish the second pot of coffee. Same suite 4C, same registered agent, same closing attorney. The scholarship that brought a 13-year-old to this island shares a Boston post office box with the LLC buying up his neighbor's working harbors. The keystone has fallen into place. Greer asks Eleanor to pull the federal grants database. She does, on a public access terminal in the back room of the clerk's office. She enters the LLC's federal employer identification number and waits for the screen to load. $38 million. NOAA Coastal and Estuarine Land Conservation Program, 3 fiscal years. The grant narrative cites island coastal habitat preservation. 2 of the 14 parcels, the ones with the working harbors, have already been rezoned for resort use. The grant money was dispersed before the rezoning. The sequencing is, in Greer's careful Charleston voice, suggestive of a pattern. That'll move, Greer says quietly. That'll move at the federal level. Don't tell anyone yet. Eleanor calls a friend at the Mercer County Real Estate Tax Office during lunch. The friend walks the deed books on her break. She calls Eleanor back at 1:14 and reads from the ledger. 22 parcels, Eleanor. Same window, single buyer. Appalachian Heritage Partners, LLC. Same Boston suite, same closing attorney. 6 of the 22 were black-owned for 3 generations. Heirs property. Nobody had clean title. Eleanor closes her eyes. She has seen this exact play before. 2 coasts, 1 operation. The summit is the front door. Greer pulls the Wexford Young Leaders Summit's 3 previous years of accepted camper rosters using the Foundation's own public 990 filings. He reads the names off to Eleanor over the speakerphone. Ian recognizes 4 last names. Those families, Greer says, all owned property in the target zones. 3 of the 4 sold within a year of their kids' summit weekend, at fire sale prices. Caroline Ashford texts Ian a checking-in message at 2:20 p.m. Hope you're feeling okay. Let me know if you want to grab ice cream. And asks, again, what Wayfarer's destination is for the summer. Ian shows the screen to his mother. Eleanor saves the screenshot. She does not text back. She does not need to. By 3 p.m., Greer has drafted a properly noticed subpoena for records the public databases will not show. Wires, PAC disbursements, internal correspondence between the Whitfield Family Foundation and Coastal Stewardship, LLC. He plans to serve it Monday at 9 a.m. through a process server he has used for 30 years. If you have ever filed a public records request and felt the temperature drop on the other side of the counter, drop a node in the comments. A 13-year-old is going to need every witness he can get. Margaret is the one who notices the pattern in the camper rosters first. She runs a finger down the list and stops on a name, then another, then another. She looks up at Eleanor. They're not picking smart kids. They're picking heir kids. Kids who will inherit before they're old enough to have a lawyer. And they're stacking the ones with the messiest title chains. Black families, single-mother households, grieving households. Eleanor is quiet for a long minute. She closes the binder. Then this isn't a scholarship. It's a customer acquisition channel. Teresa Lindgren, listening from the counter with both hands wrapped around her coffee mug, exhales slowly through her nose. My God. Ian at the side table writes one line in his blue notebook. Family access channel. He underlines it twice. She does not raise her voice. She raises her pen. That night, Margaret's car will not start in the inn's gravel parking lot. The hood is unlatched. Nothing has been taken. Something has been arranged. She turns the key 3 times. The engine does nothing. She sits very still, hands at 10 and 2, and reaches slowly for her phone. 36 hours after the records request, 4 things happen on the same morning. First, a Mercer County deputy tapes a 5-day eviction notice to the front door of the Tate farmhouse, citing a back tax matter that did not appear on any statement 3 days prior. Hannah is the one who finds it. She is 8 years old, and she does not panic. She calls her mother on the Wayfarer and reads the letter aloud, slowly, the way Eleanor has taught her to read things she does not understand. Eleanor listens with both hands pressed flat against the chart table. Mom, do we have to move? Eleanor's voice catches once, just once, then steadies. Not this house, baby. Not this one. Second, a maritime regulator boards the Wayfarer at anchor in the outer roadstead at 6:20 a.m. He issues 6 citations in 14 minutes. 4 are for conditions impossible to violate while a vessel is anchored, running light infractions on a vessel that is not running, anti-fouling paint specifications that do not apply to a vessel of this displacement class. Captain Whitlow signs the citation receipt without comment and says, "Have a good morning, sir," in a voice that has weathered worse. She emails the citations to Greer before the regulator's launch is back at the dock. Third, an anonymous tip is made to West Virginia Child Protective Services. The caller alleges Eleanor abandoned her son on a luxury vessel with an unrelated adult male. The caller does not leave a name. The caller does not give a callback number. The tip is logged at 6:52 a.m., 18 minutes after the regulator boarded the Wayfarer. The social worker who calls Eleanor at 9:10 a.m. is professional and brief and apologizes for the intrusion. Eleanor produces the trust paperwork showing Captain Whitlow is the court-appointed trustee and a 40-year family employee. The social worker thanks her and closes the file before lunch. Greer files a FOIA the next morning to identify the caller's number. Fourth, an anonymous post appears on a popular Finance Bro account on a platform that rhymes with Nex. The post accuses Ian of identity borrowing his deceased grandfather's name. It is written in the cadence of a 13-year-old badly imitated by an adult. Too many exclamation points, too few contractions. Underneath the post, 3 replies use a slur that Ian's mother has not let into her house in 20 years. The post is taken down within 90 minutes. It has already been screenshotted thousands of times. Margaret Whitlock falls in her own kitchen. Or she does not fall. She is admitted overnight for observation. She tells Ian, dry, on the phone, "I do not fall in my own kitchen, dear. Your captain might want to look at her brake lines." Ian writes brake lines in his blue notebook. He underlines it once. Caroline Ashford appears on the public dock that afternoon with a paper bag of cookies. She tries to apologize for everyone. She asks specifically what Eleanor intends to do at any town meeting, hypothetically. Eleanor takes the cookies. She thanks her. She walks 10 feet down the seawall and feeds them to a passing seagull. Caroline watches the bird eat and walks away without a word. Her hands are shaking. The narrator notes this. The narrator does not editorialize. The afternoon ferry off the island is fully booked. 2 of Margaret's island sources cancel scheduled meetings in the same hour. The temperature on Wexford Island has changed without a single voice raised in public. A spokesperson for Senator Whitfield's office, in a brief written statement issued late that evening, calls any forthcoming allegations unsubstantiated and politically motivated, and says the office will cooperate fully with any review. The statement runs 80 words. It is the only sentence the senator's office will issue this week. That night, Ian sits on the bow of the Wayfarer alone for an hour. The lights of Wexford Island are a thin chain on the western horizon. Down in the galley, Captain Whitlow is on the phone with her own attorney. "Yes, every citation. Yes, I'm fine. Yes, the boy is fine. No, they sent 4 hammers in one morning. Each hammer leaves a fingerprint." Ian listens to the wind on the rigging. He counts to 9. He goes below. Hannah is asleep on his bunk by the time he calls home. Eleanor has caught a noon flight from Boston back to Charleston and driven straight to the farm. Hannah took the eviction notice off the door herself and folded it into a kitchen drawer. "So Mom would have it for the lawyer," she explained later. She is 8. She is paying attention. Ian whispers goodnight into the phone. Eleanor does not say, "I love you." She has already said it 3 times. She says, "Tomorrow we keep going, Ian." He says, "Yes, ma'am." The line clicks. Out on the Wayfarer's bow, Captain Whitlow cuts the running lights for the night. The harbor goes dark. The stars do not. The Wayfarer's stateroom, 10 p.m. The outer roadstead. The harbor lights of Wexford Island are a thin chain on the western horizon. Below, the engine room hums on auxiliary power. Above, the wind has gone slack. Eleanor is back on board. She has flown from Charleston that afternoon and taken Captain Whitlow's tender out from the harbor at dusk. She sits on the lower bunk in stocking feet. Ian sits across from her at the chart table. She does the math out loud, the way Jonas taught her, the way she has taught Ian. Cost in, cost out, cost to stop. She runs the numbers slowly. The back tax matter, the Coast Guard citations, the CPS call, the post and what was underneath it. Margaret in a hospital bed, the brake lines, the 8-year-old daughter who answered the door alone. She considers, for the first time out loud, calling Greer off, paying the back tax, going home, saving the farm, saving Margaret, putting her son back in 8th grade where the hardest thing is long division. Ian listens. He does not interrupt. He has just watched his mother be small in her own voice for the first time in his life. He folds his hands on the chart table. Captain Whitlow knocks once, leaves a thermos of cocoa for Ian and a thermos of coffee for Eleanor, closes the door behind her without a word. Ian opens the folder on the chart table, the folder he has not opened. Inside is one piece of paper, a sealed letter in Jonas's hand, addressed to him. To my grandson, when the storm hits. The letter is short. The narrator does not quote it whole. The sense of it, the part Ian reads aloud to his mother, voice catching once, the way Hannah's voice caught on the phone, is this. The work is the inheritance. The boat is the tool. Do not change course in a storm. The storm is the only honest thing that ever happens to you. Drop the centerboard deeper. Eleanor reads the letter over Ian's shoulder. She is quiet for a long minute. She closes her eyes. Her hand goes to her mouth. Mom, she looks at him. I want to keep going. A silence. The hum of the auxiliary engine. The slap of a halyard against a mast somewhere on the foredeck. The smell of cocoa rising off the thermos. Eleanor does not promise. She does not cry. She nods once. Then we keep going. Together. Greer files Monday. All of it. He does not cry. She does not promise. They decide. If you have ever watched a child decide to keep going when the adults around him have run out of road, keep listening. He is about to walk into that chamber. Eleanor pulls her phone out of the chart table drawer. She types one line to Greer with 2 thumbs and sends it before she can second guess. File the subpoenas, all of them, tonight. Greer responds within 90 seconds. Service Monday at 9. Get some sleep. Eleanor does not sleep. She sits on the bunk with her son until he sleeps. Then she sits in the salon with Captain Whitlow until the captain sleeps. Then she stands on the bow alone in a borrowed parka and watches the sky over Wexford Island go from black to a slow, hard blue. Across the channel, the lights of the Founders cohort are still on at 3 in the morning. They are rehearsing, somebody tells Margaret later, for tomorrow's video. The video will not air. By 9 a.m. Monday, 3 things have happened in 3 time zones. In Wexford Island Harbor, Captain Whitlow, acting on Eleanor's written instruction as Ian's guardian and her own authority as trustee of the Tate Family Trust, releases funds from the trust's discretionary line. Quietly, by wire, no press. In Mercer County, Eleanor's mortgage is paid in full at the regional bank's morning open. The deputy who taped the eviction notice is required, by court order Greer secured at 6:30 a.m., to remove it. Hannah watches him take the paper down through the kitchen window. She does not wave. She watches. In Boston, 3 blocks from Suite 4C, a process server in a Navy windbreaker hands a manila envelope to a receptionist and waits patiently for a signature. The receptionist's hand is shaking. The process server is not in a hurry. He has done this 300 times in 30 years. Margaret's medical bills are covered. She does not need this. She accepts it anyway for the principle of the thing, and tells Eleanor that the next time someone tampers with her brake lines, she'll expect a thank you note. Reverend Walter Ashbrook drives from Mercer County to Eleanor's kitchen table that afternoon. He pastors the Black AME Church at the bottom of the hollow. He carries a notebook that is 2 years old, black cover, ruled pages, in his own square handwriting. 9 displaced families, 6 in West Virginia, 3 on Wexford Island. Names, dates, intimidation incidents, quoted threats, heirs' property, tax sales, forced partition. He sets it on the table. He does not open it. He says, Eleanor, this has been waiting for somebody. Across the channel, Deputy Sarah Bowen of the Wexford Island Police Department asks to meet Margaret Whitlock at Margaret's cottage at 4 p.m. She brings a binder. 2 years of incident reports, cross-indexed, date, location, complainant, alleged actor, disposition. She has not been able to act alone. She has been waiting for someone to file a parallel complaint with enough paper behind it to force the chief's hand. Margaret looks at the binder. She looks at Sarah Bowen. She says, Honey, you've been holding this since the Bishop family sold their dock? Sarah Bowen nods. 2 years and 3 months. Greer files in 2 jurisdictions on the same day. Federal complaint in Massachusetts, state complaint in West Virginia. Eleanor cosigns as Ian's parent and natural guardian. Captain Whitlow cosigns as trustee. The filings are time-stamped within 9 minutes of each other. In the Wexford Island town clerk's office, Ian sits across from Teresa Lindgren and asks if she would be willing to testify about the deeds she processed. She thinks for a long minute. She nods once. Then she tells him something he did not know. Your grandfather used to bring me coffee on Tuesdays. Came in every 2 months for 30 years. Asked the same question every time. He wanted to know who was buying. I never knew why he was asking. Now I do. Ian writes one line in his blue notebook. Grandpa knew. That evening, Margaret Whitlock walks back to her cottage from the marina with a plain manila envelope tucked under her cardigan. The envelope arrived at her door that morning. There's no return address. The postmark is Boston. The handwriting on the front is young, older than Ian, younger than Eleanor. She does not open it on the walk home. She holds it the way you hold a wounded bird. When she gets to her kitchen, she sets it on the table, pours a glass of cold water, and sits down. She looks at the envelope for a long time. Then she picks up the phone and calls the wayfarer. Diana, bring the family in, all of them, tonight. The Wayfarer's main salon, 9 p.m. Eleanor, Ian, Margaret, Captain Whitlow, and Edmund Greer on the speakerphone. The chart table has been cleared except for one envelope. Margaret opens it in front of all of them. She does not read it first. She wants the room to see it together. 12 pages. Wexford Heritage Trust letterhead, dated 2019. Header in bold serif. Operation Tideline, Strategic Land Consolidation. Internal memo, confidential. Authored by V. Ashford, COO. The memo names target geographies on 2 coasts, Mercer County, West Virginia, Wexford Island, Massachusetts. A column for acquisition velocity, a column for political exposure, a column for family profile. Section 4B names the working harbors as residual fishing family parcels, language a normal person would not use about a livelihood unless they had been trained out of seeing it as one. Section 4C, the smoking section. Family Access Channel. Identify and approach legacy asset families through their children before the estate transfer is complete. Recommended vehicle, Wexford Young Leaders Summit, Whitfield Family Foundation. Recommended cohort age, middle school. Cohort selection criteria, heir status, single parent or grieving households where applicable, regional isolation, communities of color in heirs' property states. Eleanor reads the section out loud once, then again. Her hand does not shake. The summit was the bait. Ian was the asset. The bullies were rehearsed. Caroline was reconnaissance. The author byline is Vivian Ashford, Caroline's mother, Chief Operating Officer of Wexford Heritage Trust. The COO's signature is on page 12. Margaret looks up. She is the calmest person in the room. They wrote it down. Of course they wrote it down. They thought they'd never have to show anybody. Captain Whitlow goes below to the lower hold. She comes back 2 minutes later with Jonas Tate's locked sea chest. The brass plate is dim. J. Tate, master. She sets it on the salon floor and produces from her own pocket a small brass key. He gave me this 2 weeks before he died. He said, when the boy is ready. She unlocks it. She steps back. Ian opens the chest. Inside is a 32-page dossier, hand-typed, indexed, tabbed with colored paper, parcel maps, notarized statements from displaced Wexford Island fishing families dating to 1992, notarized statements from displaced black landowners in McDowell and Mercer counties dating to 1988, the Whitfield family's land dealings going back 30 years, cross-referenced to the parcels currently held by Coastal Stewardship LLC and Appalachian Heritage Partners LLC. Jonas Tate had been tracking the Whitfield family for 30 years. Same playbook, same patterns, different decade. 2 of the displaced 1992 Islanders are still alive. He had their notarized statements. 3 of the displaced 1988 Mercer County families are still alive. He had theirs too. Underneath the dossier is a sealed envelope addressed in Jonas's hand. To Ian, the night before he walks into a room he does not want to walk into. Eleanor sets it on the chart table for tomorrow. Margaret reads the dossier in 40 minutes. She looks up. Her eyes are wet for the first time in the entire investigation. He left you a map. Greer, on speakerphone, breaks the silence with the calm of a man who has been waiting for this exact stack of paper for 8 months. Okay, we file the supplemental tonight. The hearing is Wednesday at 6 p.m. We'll have R1 through R12 in evidentiary order. Eleanor, I'll need your signature on 3 more pages by midnight. Ian, I'll need yours on 1, with your mother's countersignature. Margaret turns the courier envelope over in her hands. The handwriting on the front is young, older than Ian, younger than Eleanor. She looks at Eleanor and does not say what she suspects. She does not say it to Ian either. The boy did not bring the receipts. The receipts were already waiting for him. Greer files for the Wexford Island Town Council's public comment slot at 11:14 p.m. The hearing is Wednesday at 6 p.m. He emails the family at 11:20. The subject line is 1 word. Wednesday. So the kid knows now. It was never about the ocean. Never about the postcard. Never about a country boy seeing the Atlantic. It was about the will. The deed. The dock his grandpa drank coffee at. Quick gut check before the chamber. If a 13-year-old just learned, grown adults built a whole summer camp to rob his family, would you sit him in the front row of a town council hearing? Because his mom is about to. And honestly, I'm not sure I would have. I'm just glad it wasn't my call. The Wexford Island Town Council Chamber, Wednesday, 6 p.m. White clapboard outside, wood paneling inside, low ceiling, a single microphone at the public comment lectern, 2 ceiling fans turning slowly, the smell of floor wax and old paper. Local cable cameras at the back, 2 reporters from Boston in the 3rd row, 1 reporter from a national paper in the 4th. Senator Bradford Whitfield is in the front row to support local leadership. Preston is beside him in a navy suit. Caroline Ashford is not in the room. Vivian Ashford is not in the room. Eleanor Tate at the public comment lectern first. Edmund Greer at her right. Ian seated in the front row across the aisle from the senator beside Captain Whitlow in a clean blazer that fits him this time. He has a single index card in his right hand. The handwriting on it is his own. Council Chair Harlan Brooks gavels public comment open at 6:03. Eleanor introduces herself. She names her son. She names the Wexford Young Leaders Summit and the foundation that runs it. She names Suite 4C, State Street, Boston. She names Vivian Ashford by full title. Greer reads the receipts in evidentiary order. R1. The acceptance letter and the postcard, read into the record. 2. The ferry terminal CCTV, time-stamped 1432. Senator's sedan, 2 unidentified men, read into the record. 3. The license plate cross-reference. 2 corporate fleet vehicles registered to Wexford Heritage Trust ferried over that morning, read into the record. 4. The 14 island parcels. Coastal Stewardship LLC, 26 months, read into the record. R5. The shared Boston suite. Coastal Stewardship LLC, Appalachian Heritage Partners, LLC, Whitfield Family Foundation, Wexford Young Leaders Summit. Read into the record. R6, the $38 million NOAA disbursement, 3 fiscal years, 2 parcels rezoned for resort. Read into the record. R7, the PAC to subsidiary wires, $1.6 million. Read into the record. Rate, the 5-day eviction notice, back tax matter that did not exist 3 days prior. Read into the record. R9, the maritime regulators' 6 citations, 4 impossible to violate at anchor. Read into the record. 10, Operation Tideline, 12 pages, Section 4C, the summit named as a family access channel, cohort selection criteria including communities of color in heirs property states, authored by V. Ashford, COO. Read into the record. 11. Jonas Tate's 32-page dossier. 3 decades of cross-referenced statements, including 6 Black West Virginia families displaced between 1988 and 1996, filed under seal pending federal review, acknowledged on the record. 12. Council Chair Harlan Brooks's own incomplete conflict of interest disclosure forms, the lines that should not be blank. Read into the record. The chamber goes silent for a count of 9. A spokesperson for Senator Whitfield's office, in a brief written statement read into the record at 6:22 by the senator's chief of staff, calls the allegations unsubstantiated and politically motivated, and says the office will cooperate fully with any review. The statement runs 94 words. The room does not buy it. The senator's hand rests on Preston's shoulder. The hand is shaking very slightly. The narrator notes this. The narrator does not editorialize. Council Chair Brooks invites any final public comment. He does not look at Ian. He does not have to. Eleanor looks down at her son. She nods once. Ian stands. He walks to the lectern. He has to lower the microphone 2 inches. The microphone makes a small sound when he lowers it. He does not flinch. He thanks the council for hearing him. He says he was invited to the island to see his first ocean. He says that was true. He says the ocean is bigger than he expected. He says the people who invited him already knew his last name. They knew his grandfather's address. They knew the price they hoped to pay for it. He says he has the paperwork that proves it. He says his lawyer has a copy. He says the federal government has a copy. He says he is not angry. The narrator notes, he is not, and that is what frightens the front row. He says the displaced families on Wexford Island and the displaced families in Mercer County are the same families now. They will speak for themselves at the next hearing. They have been waiting 22 years. He says his grandfather left him a map. He says he intends to read it carefully. He says, thank you. He sits down. He does not finish with a sentence. He finishes with a date. Council Chair Brooks gavels. The hearing is recessed, pending federal review. As Ian sits, a local reporter raises her hand. Mr. Tate, who sent you the memo? Ian looks toward the back door of the chamber. He does not answer. The back door does not open. Outside, the harbor is dark. The Wayfarer is at anchor a mile off the breakwater. Captain Whitlow is on the bow with the running lights cut, watching the chamber's windows. Inside, the senator does not move. Preston does. He stands up halfway through a question from a national reporter and walks out the side door without taking his father's hand off his shoulder. He walks past Ian. He does not look at him. Ian does not turn his head. 48 hours later, 3 things happen. A federal referral is announced by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Massachusetts. NOAA opens a clawback review of the $38 million grant. The Massachusetts Attorney General files a civil action against Wexford Heritage Trust and its named officers. The Whitfield Family Foundation suspends the Wexford Young Leaders Summit pending internal review. The senator's office issues a second, longer statement. In Mercer County, Eleanor stands at the kitchen counter with the kettle on. Hannah is at the table reading aloud from a different library book, this one about lighthouses. The dairy barn lights still come on at 6 a.m. They always have. On Wexford Island, the Wayfarer is back at anchor. Ian is on the bow at dawn. The postcard is in his hand. He sees the ocean. Really sees it. For the first time. The narrator does not say so directly. The cadence says it. Margaret walks down to the dock with 2 paper cups of coffee. She tells Ian, gently, that Caroline Ashford's older brother, recently of college age, has resigned from the Whitfield Family Foundation and from his own family's foundation in the same letter. The handwriting on the manila envelope was his. Ian nods. He sips his coffee. Tell him thank you, when you can. The wind off the harbor is cold for late June. Ian pulls the postcard out of his pocket. He looks at it one more time. They mailed a 13-year-old a postcard of an ocean he had never seen. He mailed it back, with the receipts. Subscribe. There is a hearing in 3 weeks, and we will be there for it. Like the video. Comment with 1 word. Noted. Because no one is above the public trust. Not a senator, not a foundation, not a man in a Navy suit on a small island who has been writing the rules for 30 years. A boy stands on the bow of his own boat at dawn. He folds the postcard once. He does not fold it twice. He puts it in his pocket.